Good day, everyone. My name is Isabelle Bilrebriel, and I'm working as the Business Development Director for DALIM Software in Europe. I have the pleasure today to welcome you to this webinar as part of the Henry Stewart Continuing Professional Development Program. I'm glad to have with us today around the table three professionals who have put together some great content. David Lindsay, let me first introduce you to David Lindsay, who is a co-founder of the Clarissa IP Consultancy Group. David is an expert, an international expert dealing with DAM. He will be sharing with us today his view and experience about DAM implementation. We have also the pleasure to have Christian Blaise. Christian Blaise is one of the most recognized packaging experts in the world, with more than 25 years experience in the graphic supply chain, working successfully for brands such as Nestlé, producer and vendor. And finally, we will be today together with Fred Samy, working as a DAM expert at DALIM Software with a very long experience in deploying DAM at publishers and brand level. The three of them, they will be sharing with us their experience dealing with the complex process of packaging artwork lifecycle management, including graphic design, regulatory, and marketing management. They will explain us how DAM can sustain the process and the true role the DAM can bring and sustain this process. Hi, David. Hello to you. Thanks for joining us today. I leave it to you. Please share with us your view and experience about DAM and this very interesting topic.
Thank you very much, Isabelle, and to Christian and Frederick for putting together this important and very timely presentation for where the field of digital asset management is, and most importantly, where it is going. We all work in a field where the phrase persistence of change should be a little footnote every time we try to describe to someone what we're doing in digital asset management. It's our role, particularly when we're working in an area of change, such as exemplified by this webinar, to bring the faint and the ill-defined and the new into focus. We bring what is uncertain and different workflows into clarity. And then whether we like it or not, and I don't think any of us exactly volunteer for this, along comes something new. The digital frontier where many of us work keeps expanding and no end in sight. I think all my colleagues on the webinar and many of you joining us on the webinar around the world know that I like it that way. We at the Henry Stewart Conference like it that way. It's tricky to manage, we all know that, but at the same time there's little choice in managing all of these opportunities. This odd duality of permanence and anticipation defines much of what digital asset management is. As we look at the experiences where this is true, I had an opportunity recently to reflect on one quite close to where I live outside of Washington, D.C. I was in one of our more innovative U.S. department stores called Nordstrom's, and the store was just buzzing. There were dozens of brands of skincare, cosmetics, accessories, and other products, professionals to apply them, and I had stumbled into their spring beauty event. And I bring this up because as I loved looking at this blend of retail experience, of people interacting with each other in a training kind of way, and with commerce occurring, physical commerce in the store. Those of you who know me might know that I started counting the number of digital assets that were there. And of course, the most stellar assets present were the invitation and particularly the packaging around the products that were being demonstrated and shared and whatnot. There was video that went along with people learning about the products. There was follow-on e-commerce. But the visual allure and complexity of the packaging that was involved is one of the persistent causes of engagement with that particular vein of product. Not something we're going to concentrate on as much today, But I highlight this to show that the branding, packaging, and marketing assets, the training programs for professionals working with these products, the customer data, all of this came together in an experiential moment in a retail environment. And in an era when we can get a little dismayed at the amount of e-commerce, this was quite fun to see. Digital asset management does little to get less complicated, to use a funny phrase. Assets are moving from a passive nature to a more active and smart natures. Assets embed ever more information, something that we're going to talk about today. There's ever-increasing intelligence in the digital ecosystem. And part of what we see from this is exactly the vein, and that's why I wanted to be involved with this today, where more and more sophisticated workflows happening with more efficiency and with less cost occur when digital asset management meets highly developed packaging software. And I was delighted to spend the time these past few weeks working on this presentation because it fits so well into where we're going with digital asset management and the tremendous value that this software, not without its challenges to explain it to executives, but that this software can bring to businesses worldwide. So with that introduction, Isabel, Christian, and Frederick, thank you for the chance to join you today. I'll be here throughout the webinar to listen in and answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you for this very nice introduction. Just forget to inform you that if you have any question, please just pose them to the panel aside. And this will be a pleasure to answer them either during the session or at the end of this session. Christian, I think now it's your turn now to share with us your experience about packaging and how work life cycle management and how the DAM can help sustaining this process. Christian, it's up to you.
Thank you, Isabel. Good day, everyone. I'm Christian Blaise. I'm the founder and owner of the consultancy Bleu Process, which is specialized in packaging process management and workflow automation. And I founded that 10 years ago. After having been working for a brand, for Nestlé, for over 6 years, and the vendors and focus, and also before working for a supplier of the brand. In parallel to that, I'm also chairing the Ghent Workgroup Packaging Subcommittee for more than 14 years, and the Cross Media Subcommittee for 4 years. For those who don't know about the Ghent Workgroup is an international body taking care of the best practices and working on specifications around the PDF file format in the graphic arts. So let's jump to the topic where we are today. Thank you to change the slide, Fred. So, right, yeah, thank you. So today we want to talk about DAM and packaging, and basically the thing I wanted to point out at first is to see the power of the DAM and the project management that we know that is really strong in the packaging area. So basically, what is really good about the association of a DAM and a project management system is about the fact that it helps you getting away from what I call the global garbage. So it's moving from an asset repository to a content management, a real content management. Basically, with this, we know that the most important thing is about, is it me that I have an echo? That's strange. Okay. So when you use the project management system and the DAM system, the thing that is really important is that every metadata that you use within the whole system is working on both sides. And specifically, we know that for a dam system, what is important is to get all of those metadata correctly introduced. And this is one of the most difficult things. By the way that you have the project management is
Christian, look like you have some problem with the line. Would you like to?
Nice line. It's actually not on my side because I don't have a headset. It's probably one of the panelists where the mic is going over.
Okay, so maybe let's unmute all of us and just keep you muted.
Okay, let's see if it's better. Looks better. Sorry for that issue. I think it's fixed now. So coming back again to that area about the metadata and DAM, we know that the quality of the metadata is very important to have a very good quality for the DAM. And by the fact of using the project management to feed that DAM helps into getting a good quality of the input and a consistency of that input, because this is exactly all of the metadata that you're driving along the project and that you need to manage your project that are feeding the DAM, and this is very important. On the other side, you can also pull those metadata from the DAM, and that will fill automatically all of the project information or metadata of the project, which in that case also gives a consistency between the metadata that you're driving along, but also it improves the speed of the input for the project management and the quality of those metadata. So again, having the combination of those two is really empowering the whole process and the whole management of your content and your projects. Next slide, Fred, please. One of the topics that I want to talk about today, which is very important in terms of the packaging area, is about the compliancy to regulation. Packaging is an activity that is really heavily managed under regulations, and we have a lot of them, like the ones that are coming from the EU or from the FDA or the organizations, and they are changing quite a lot, which means that sometimes you have some regulations to follow and there is a new regulation coming, and then you have to take care of that new regulation, which implies to change a lot of packaging, have to change their content, have to change the way they're displayed on the package, which drives you to handling a lot of package at a one time into a huge project where you have to change all of them at once. And for that part, you can talk actually about the INCO regulation, which is the 1169/2011 from the EU, where there was a regulation talking about the fact that every message that you are having into any communication media, which includes the packaging but also collateral or any kind of communication, should be completely consistent. And this is something that is quite difficult to achieve if you don't have a DAM underneath your project management, because in that case you cannot ensure that the text that is on your package is exactly the same on the website where you want to sell the product, or any billboard or any brochure that you have around the project. On that INCO regulation, you also had some things about the minimum font size, which is one of the graphs that you have on the right of the side with the appendix, where actually there are some rules now where you have to be sure that the height of lowercase x is over 1.2 millimeter. And this is also something that needed to be taken into account when you do your projects, and you have to change a lot of packagings because you have this. Nutritional panels also something that has changed quite a lot, where you have to focus on new area of that panel, and every nutritional panel has been has had to be modified, and this is all happening on both sides of the ocean, actually, in Europe but also in the US. Something that is also important about the system they're using is that if you want to go into some specific area like pharma business or sometimes cosmetics, is that you also have to have regulated systems, and it's important to be sure that everything that you do is under control. Next topic is about the translation management and the variants into the different packages that you're working on. We know that for most of the big companies we're working with or working for, we have all of the stakeholders during the project that are spread all over the world, which means that you have a lot of people that are working together on the same project, not being in the same location. And with this, you need to share the information, and this is where you can also use the power of the DAM and the project management. And for most of the packages that we're developing now, they're multilingual, which could be that you have, I don't know, in the US you can have the English and Spanish, or English, Spanish and French, or English and French. In Europe, sometimes you have over more than 12 languages into one package, which means that all of the content that is here needs to be validated by all of the stakeholders of the project. And in that case, you need to spread the information to all of them, and you need to get the approval for all of them before moving into the next step. So managing the content within the DAM builds actually the relationship between the different contents and their variants, meaning that when you're working on one of them, if you have any collateral or any other package that is using the same content, this is actually pushed to them as well. And it keeps the links between those content and variant, meaning that after, if you go back into your DAM, you can find the relationship between those content and say, oh, when I developed that package, for example, doing that campaign, I developed like 10 other packages. I developed some collaterals, some media stuff, and then you have the link of all those going together, and that helps a lot into the consistency of the brand. And this is also helping at the end of the day to build a translation memory, meaning that when you go from one language to another, you don't have to start over translating the same segments of text over and over. And that helps into saving time, saving costs, and obviously also improving the consistency of the message that you deliver. Next, after the translation management, I'd like to talk about the repurposing. Fred? Fred, can you move to the next slide, please?
It's just on the screen, yeah. Christian. Maybe you can go on.
Okay, wasn't on mine, sorry. So the repurposing is actually, now that we have stored all of the assets used in the project along with their metadata, it is very important to get that content, because now you can repurpose those contents, and repurposing the content means a lot of things, and it's key into the packaging area. You can use that repurposing to create new projects, for example. And this is very important, something that that I worked on, and I had the case a lot of time when I used to work for Nestle, is like, that you're changing a die line, for example, for one of the packages you're working on. And by the fact that everything is into the DAM, you can find all of the other assets using that die line, for example. And then when you found those new projects, you can say, oh, I can create a new campaign out of those projects, and you know exactly what is the implication of changing one of these elements. And this is also helping a lot into building your campaigns because you see, oh, actually, I have to change those packages because I have a new DALIM. This is also probably a good time to make some changes, like marketing changes, new claims, or none of them, because I use the same opportunity to move forward into a new area. The e-commerce is also one of the big thing now, because you need to provide the text on the website where you want to sell your products. Could be your website or could be another one like Amazon or those big players. And in that case, like the ingredient list and the claims and some information that you have to provide need to come from you and push to the website. And this is where, if everything that is on the package is also stored in the DAM and you have all those content, it's really easy to reuse them and push them to the website instead of doing the old way, like just, looking at the package and retype that into the interface, which leads to obviously a lot of mistakes and, losing a lot of time. Cross-media is also something that is important now, because you can have some communication that you want to have at the same time than releasing new packages. And again, here, by using the DAM and being able to repurpose the same content, it's very efficient, it is fast, and you can ensure that you're delivering the same message to any media. And again, by the way, this is also linked to the regulation I talked about earlier, where you have to deliver the same message anyway. And next to the regulation again, you need also now to submit some subset of data to the authorities, and especially for the cosmetics area in the EU. When you're releasing a new package, when you have a package on shelves, you need to deliver to the EU authorities a subset of data, like what is the brand, the sub-brand, who is the project manager, what are the claims, what are some kind of information. And you need to submit this with a visual of the front of your package. And for all of the packages that you're doing, you need to push that to the authorities. So if you have to do that manually, this is a huge work. When actually that regulation started, I was working for some big clients in the cosmetic area, and they had, like, in a couple of months, they had to push more than 15,000 different products to the authorities. And this is where, if you have a system underlying your process, that really helps a lot. Last point that I want to touch today is the smart packaging, which is also linked to what we have here. And this is something that is quite strong now into the food business, but this is also coming into the clothes industry, where starting from a package where you can find some identifier. Most of the time it's a QR code. Fred, if you can push to the next slide, if it's not done, because I don't see it here. Yes, thanks. So here I have an example of a real package using a QR code. But you have new things also coming, like printed antennas, where you can also get the information and get the connection. But basically the idea is you have some information on the package, and by scanning your package and some specific identifier, you can get to some extra information. And this is also something that is needed, because on the regulations that we have on packaging, we have to reduce the size of the package. But on the other end, with the regulation, we have to put more and more content on the package. So one of the ways to get access to this is using this link, this kind of link, and get some extra content on a website, a specific website, where you can have here, the example that I have here is to have all of the information of, we have the pack shot, and we have information about the ingredients, and we have the nutrition panel, and you have also some links to recipes and things that you can do with it. But basically here you can have any kind of content where you can have you can see, I don't know if it's a tea or coffee, you can see how it has been produced before. You can have videos about recipes, how to use a product. If it's in the clothes industry, you could have links to accessories that are working with the thing that you have in your hand at that moment, and that really enhance the user experience around the product they buy. Basically, this is what I wanted to talk about today, and I will hand over to Frederick, who is going to go more into details into the technical things around the topic we're talking today.
Thanks, Christian. So it's very interesting, in fact, what Christian was talking about, because this is a clear representation of the goals of a vendor today. Because if you are looking at the position of a vendor, what we need to challenge, it's more than a DAM. In fact, it's about, we're all talking about project management, so it's about workflows. It's about some analytics, so we need to be able to figure out some measurements and performance of the campaign. And what you can see there is a clear representation of that goals. So my name is Fred. So as you know, for most of the people following us, I'm coming from agencies, spending a lot of time doing a lot of jobs of so many people. And now, since the last 5 years, pre-sales solution manager by DALIM software, but I will say in the last 25 years, my main passion is really to drive feature and everything around the DAM, because this is Georgios, and you can now, and especially thanks to technology, we can figure out some very great solution for better user engagement. So, and finally, the challenge is how we can push even more the DAM to empower the packaging workflows. Whatever, finally, you are brands, retailers, we saw many examples in the last years that this is really the main challenge of these people. And just to start, it's some information coming from Tour and the research partners, when we can see that, in fact, the real benefits of DAM strategy by brands is really at the top. So it means that it will increase definitely the brand awareness, because as we are talking, there's more and more features. As I said, it's a more online engagement, because packaging is coming from production. You need to be able to figure out and share and drive all the content, whatever it is, on the web. And so this is the main purpose, and really all the benefits you can get from the DAM. And so this is also one way to improve the ROI. So some trends this year around packaging is, of course, the union of package structure for the branding, the idea to the face and role of packaging online. That's something which is more and more, I will say, it's more than a buzz today, because you need to be able to personalize your content and up to the mobile. So this is definitely a real challenge, and it's as, for example, the example of Coca-Cola marketing campaign this year is one of these examples. So we talk about the getting smart. It's definitely a re-engagement word, and today we have the solutions to challenge that and achieve that goals. Talking about more experience, because at the end of the day, packaging is first of all user experience that will extend all the capabilities for the brand. So finally, how DAM solution can drive CPG adoption. So first of all, it's a lot of kind of assets, and that's a real challenge, because it's not only still images, but video is even today simpler. But you have, as for example, to be able to manage 3D viewing and packaging and 3D on the web. I can tell you that's a great challenge, because we are not talking about RGB, we are talking about spot colors, we are talking about the rights animation, about opacity. So this is a real challenge today, but today, and we have some, the technology is there to achieve that goals. It's important, of course, and I will say for any vertical markets, but especially for packaging, as where we have to manage so many variances, the ability to use and reuse assets. We need also to be able to reduce product and packaging time to market, because finally, and that's something we see during this year, and especially on our side for retailers, they have to push on the market. I will say sometimes it's more a production guy which is talking to you, but it's not for yesterday, but sometimes it's just have a couple of hours to update the contents. And of course, we need also to maintain the ROI, because even if today you have some solutions in the market, I'm not sure that the end customer wants to pay tons to deploy a solution and spending years to see something happening. So, and one of the Forrester report here end of last year is really the clear representative of that goal. So it means that DAM enables the creation, management, and retention of content using workflow, repository of assets, and archiving capabilities. So for all the people offering us during the last years, and especially during the DAM events, you can see on the booth is this sentence, which is enterprise DAM meets enterprise workflow. So what does it mean? Today, retailers, they don't need simply a DAM system, and you have so many DAM systems in the world able to manage simple still images of simple assets. So you need to involve that content into the workflow, into the business process of the end customer. That's the reason workflow is really at the heart of the needs of the brands. So the ability to place the DAM at the heart of the organization, to manage all your SKUs library. It's also, because we know that, also a subject for all DAM manager, and it's important to mention that, and that's a topic we have every year during all our steward events. And so now DAM, as soon as you can get a DAM, you can control all your channels, because it's not only print, it's not only web, it's a lot of channels from television to broadcasting to mobile to prints, and at the end of the day it brings ROI benefits for the marketing, instead of sending a lot of emails or something like that. And so I try to represent finally what's many business core business when you have to manage them and packaging. So at the heart, in fact, you have some, as we saw with Christian, a lot of specifications. We have brief from the customer, and the customer, the way the customer is working today can be a huge workflow, because we have different stakeholders with different roles. So you need to be able to use that workflow to manage the approval cycle and follow the business process of a brand. So the ability to manage project, the ability to edit online. So, and today we have some very great stunning solution to be able to edit, as for example the InDesign documents, and you can manage easily the content of them with InDesign, and to push the content and to preserve the ROI. This is the real new way to work, and bringing so many advantages for both of the production and the end customer. And at the end of the day, you need to get some reports, because you want to know if your campaign is successful or not. So this is a clear representation of the packaging lifecycle management. And so packaging and DAM definitely extends brand knowledge. So for the different channels, from the packaging, artwork, productions, up to e-commerce, WCM, social content management, the PM is also adhere to our products, because we need to be able to lay out all the information for our products and from the ERP. And so the system is not only digital asset management, it's a workflow management driven with rights and powerful search capabilities. So DAM and packaging. So we need to be able to manage rich media assets in order to organize and retrieve the assets of brand at the right time. It's important to get a flexible DAM to follow the digital business strategies, to control all the life cycle of your brand, and so to be sure to ensure the brand consistency with the right asset at the right time, in the right channel. So to ensure the brand consistency across all the omnichannel distribution, the DAM is today the solution for the brand. So to manage the brand consistency and both the brand equity. So organize and control your assets, protect the brands, improve the consistency. This is the key words of the brand new challenges in 2017. So in that way, you can imagine to improve the time to markets with faster approval cycles, to improve your ROI with more distribution channels. So this is it was a quick overview on our side, and it's very important for DALIM software really to understand, to be close to the request of the packaging and the DAM. And so definitely, last year we launched a new version of our system, and even this year we're able to get some new stunning things to manage more easily packaging within the DAM.
Thank you, Fred. So maybe let me go through the question we have been placed during this session. And I have one. I think this one, Christian, is for you. That's an interesting one. Let me read it to you. How would you elaborate how smart packaging is set to change the way we look at packaging? Could you explain us, Christian, your view about it? And yeah, how smart packaging can change our way of dealing with it?
Sure. Actually, smart packaging is something that the brands are really looking at very thoroughly, and most of them started to do some tests and sometimes very heavy tests, or even putting into production for a full range of products. The idea is, we know that when we are in the supermarkets and we're in front of the shelf, this is where we're taking the real decision of what we're buying. And so the brands do believe, and I'm with them on that one, that smart packaging is really a good way to differentiate your brand against the others by giving a lot of information that you cannot get from the package itself. And if again you want to buy clothes, and then you just like asking yourself what could work with this, and then by just scanning it, you get like a web page where you have some information about the accessories working with it, or shoes, or whatever, or the products that look the same. I think this is really an shopping experience, and this is helping you into making a good shop at that time. For the food market or for the cosmetics, it's also very important, because by having those scans and getting some information on the package, this is where you can get some information about allergens, for example, when you want to buy a product and you want to be sure that it's not jeopardizing anything with your health. And then I have the package, I want to be sure that everything in there is suitable for me and I can buy it. If I can scan the package and get those information, get some extra information about how to use the product, how to prepare it, I think this is really, really enhancing the way you want to buy stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Christian, for answering this question. David, with your long DAM experience, maybe how would you like to react to this information that has been shared this afternoon or this morning from Christian and Fred? So please share with us your view.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. I wanted to comment on one thing. First, I personally am very excited about the smart packaging concept. Many of us hear regularly about the so-called Internet of Things, or IoT, and the Internet of Things relies on assets being smart enough to take action independent from a human initiating that action. An example could be a cell phone that's smart enough to detect an out of variance temperature range behind a wall where perhaps a pump or a mechanical device was overheating, and the asset embedded enough intelligence so that it knew if it reads too hot, to send an alert at. Here, we see great opportunities, and I love that example from the smart labeling and from the apparel manufacturing industry, be it further care instructions or what looks good with this. So we see assets embedding action and assets becoming more intelligent. But I particularly want to compliment Frederick on incorporating, as he has for a long time when we've taught, incorporating the importance of rights into the very nature of how the DAM system works. An asset without metadata, whether it's descriptive metadata or rights, intellectual property metadata, is simply not an asset. And the more that brands deploy rich asset management systems such as we're talking about today, the more the spotlight shines on how important clearances and rights are. And I'd comment on one little trend that I'm seeing, which might be of interest, and that is that many of the free agents or independent agents who we contract for to do videography or photography are starting to call out metadata as a separate clause in their contract. And this puts quite the spotlight on the workflow that we're talking about today, both on the packaging side and on the DAM management side. For example, if there's a photography shoot for some of the wonderful packaging we're talking about, and the model in question, the photographer in question, puts a lot of constraints around metadata, it could end up being that a model shot was allowed on the front of a package, but not on the side. And that little piece of metadata might seem normal for us or might be ever more important to capture. And in addition, photographers and videographers are starting to charge for that metadata, so I would encourage everyone listening here in our digital table to be aware of that. And we need to have those rights gateways captured in the DAM system so that we tamp down the risk of litigation and focus on getting good assets out there. So thank you for the chance to comment on that, Isma.
Thank you, David, for this this further information. I have one question, maybe Fred, for you. That one of our participants is asking: can you find the picture which are used or the image which are used in a package, or all image belonging to one package? How do you do that? So, for example, if you're looking for one picture, can you find all package where it's included in it? Alfred?
I know. So, this is a good question, in fact, because in the packaging, in fact, of course, you have the picture of the packaging, and inside you have a couple of them. So you need to be able to maintain the links between all that different pictures. So that's what we call more or less some soft links, and just also we need to be able to manage the InDesign document, as for example, which has its own folder with all the links. So, and at the end of the day, if you are already looking into our system, you have links between assets, between the content that represent, in fact, the product itself. So that's more or less we are calling the PIM. So, but the ability to search one asset and to get all the links, it's something that we have inside, and it's very important because you can search for a logo, but for that logo you need to be able where the logo is used into the system, or for a variant as, for example, of a picture, you need also to be able to see in how many packaging is this picture is used. So that's something which is today incoming in the products, or very important for people, designers, stakeholders when they have to find out and to retrieve assets.
Thank you, Fred, for this this information. One more question, Christian, because when we are talking about DAM, there's very often a question about KPI. Could you share, please, your experience regarding KPI, and especially KPI to set up for packaging management?
Yeah, actually, the key performance indicators is something that is very, 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 very important for the brands that are really looking at this. And by using DAM systems and project management systems, this is where you can keep track of your performance. And the kind of KPIs that are really looking at usually is obviously the number of projects, and to break down by region or department or a specific period to see exactly the activity of the brands. But something that is really key into the packaging artwork workflow is to get the number of the approval cycles that you're using to develop your packages or your assets, basically, where you want to know the average of approval cycle, what is the minimum, what is the maximum. In case you have new cycle, that means that you had some rejection reasons, and having a breakdown of a rejection reason is very important as well. Knowing that we actually, like, I don't know, if you had something saying like 15% of the time we had to do a new approval cycle because the barcode was incorrect. That means that probably you have to look at the way you're producing them or distributing them because you have an issue over there. Project duration is also very, very nice. Time to market is the key thing for brands. So we're really looking about the project duration. What is the minimum project duration, maximum project duration based on different kind of project? Is it a new launch? Is it a relaunch? Is it just like text modification? And if you know exactly what in average is the project duration, that helps you into building your campaigns and new projects. Linked to this, one key performance indicator is the activity workload, because then you can measure your activity. Are you able to take new projects on, or are you going to delay other things because you over capacity? And the activity workload is very nice to see what you're doing now, but also when you have project management system and app system in place, you can also see what is coming to your desk in the future, which helps you into making a projection of your activity in the future. And this is very, very helpful into building your campaigns again. So the KPI really measure your project performance now and helps you into identifying the bottlenecks that you have into your process and where you have to tackle things to make the things moving forward. And this is a key element of the continuous improvement that you want to have into managing your processes.
Thank you. David, I know you are a great supporter of KPI. Maybe one last word, because the webinar is almost at the end. One last word you would to share with us about KPI? Hi, David. Are you there?
There we go. Sure. Thank you very much. I think this is an important topic for all of us to keep in mind, that the definition, the role, and the meaning of KPI, of metrics and measurement for how are we doing in DAM is continually evolving. When we think of the sophistication of the workflow that we've seen today and about the interoperability of packaging in DAM at the level of asserting intelligence about an object from a package that's manifest through DAM, that creates a relationship that's trackable by brands. If we had imagined having that conversation 3 or 4 years ago, it would have caused a lot of like, oh, well, David, that sounds very interesting, but who's really doing that? So let's say that was 3 years ago when we had the kind of semi-scratched head about that level of sophistication and about driving data out of it. Today we can do that. One of the things I translate that into is how important it is to be able to explain to senior management, to the financial officers of the company, why DAM, as we talked about at the very opening of our session, our time together today here at the digital table, is that DAM keeps changing. and our reporting, our metrics and our measurements, our KPIs for how am I doing as a DAM manager and as a workflow manager in production is always changing with the strength of these digital tools. And it gives us both an obligation to report and to kind of check ourselves as a really vibrant opportunity to demonstrate continued value out of the investment into digital asset management software, into embedded or closely allied software, packaging software, and the other tools that we put to use. So I think it's a great segue to say thank you from my point of view to Frederick and Christian for these insights and to realize that you guys are helping to define this changing future in digital asset management and enabling the community of managers going to work to do these roles every day to do more and do it better. So thank you.
Thank you, David. And I propose to hand up this webinar today. So we'll be posting this webinar very soon to everybody. I'm very sorry, the line is getting very bad by the end of this session. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Fred, for sharing with us your view regarding DAM and packaging artwork management, the way it's helping actually to get the product faster to the markets. One last word, this is to inform you that David and Fred will be also participating to the DAM event in London next week, so please just come if you are in London sometime on the 20th or 21st of June, just come and join us during this event. Thank you very much, everybody.